So yeah, today we're just gonna it's gonna be a quick 5 minute thing. So each one of you are gonna get like 5 minutes to talk about your faith, your religion, whatever it is, and then you're gonna have in that 5 minutes questions. You're just gonna answer a few questions about like how you're keeping faith in the pandemic, learning points from the pandemic that you've learned, like from the perspective of obviously your religion or your faith. So yeah, who wants to go first? I don't really know.
So just about how the pandemic's affecting the whole situation. So I'm representing a Muslim Welfare House Association. So I'm a Muslim, and I think the main challenges for young people with the pandemic, I believe, is that is the mental aspect of it. I think us as young people, we especially young people or even students as well. So I'm a student as well, and I feel like just having the pandemic on top of our studies, our exams, all of that is actually has worsened kind of our mental states. Not everyone, but some people's mental states. And I think that a lot of young people are having, they're being very isolated and lonely. They're not having the support that they need. Obviously, a lot of systems are, limited at the moment because of the whole COVID pandemic. They're lonely, they're alone, and especially those that are suffering with anxiety and depression. It's very hard for them. Also, in terms of jobs, a lot of people have lost their jobs, so that as well has fueled that anxiety and depression for people. Some young people as well have children as well. So having this lockdown as well has made it harder for them to support for their families. I think I'm focusing mainly on the mental aspect of it because I feel like that's one of the biggest issues going on. And and then community together and pray together because they're unable to come in because of coronavirus. So they're still able to maintain their prayers. And I feel like, because our days are so busy, so us as Muslims, we pray 5 times a day, and us having these times during the day, we can connect with oneself. And we can connect with oneself and just have that break in between. Also, Muslim Welfare House are giving food to people, and there's a lot of people that need food, and they're having difficulties with supporting their own families. And with Muslim Welfare House, we're feeding people every 2 p.m. We're giving out free food to people on the streets who need it. And I feel like that's something that's very helpful, and the people have just come up to us and they're just so thankful. They're like, wow, like we really needed this.
Yeah, that's great. That's cool.
Sorry.
Who wants to go next? Axe, maybe? Do you want to speak on the pandemic, etc., and keeping faith?
All right. Hi. So my name is Akshara, and I'm the Hindu representative. My faith is Hindu, and I regularly volunteer at the Highgate Hill Murugan Temple in Archway. So speaking of lockdown, speaking of the pandemic, speaking of faith, I think it's fair to agree on the idea that lockdown has essentially slowed down our lives. Like it's made anything that's been a chaotic sort of life, anything that's been a chaotic sort of lifestyle, has certainly become something of a lesser impact. It's something that we can control and something that we have more time to modify during lockdown, exemplify during these kind of times. So, for example, what we do during lockdown is that every Friday, every Tuesday and Friday on auspicious days, we get together as a family, we go upstairs and go to our shrine. So when there's initiatives, when there's technology that can allow us to do something like that, it does help us, retain any sort of sanity that we would have lost during lockdown. Any sort of times that we would have experienced that's quite upsetting. Anything that puts us in a wrong mood, we can make up for it using technology, using technological initiatives to help us connect with as much people as possible, which is something certainly should be kept on doing, because otherwise, if we weren't going to do it, people are experiencing many different problems, many different difficulties during the pandemic. All right, many people are losing jobs, many people are losing loved ones. Where the virtual world comes in there is, it helps us understand the real diverse nature of these challenges people face, and where we see the real diversity of the challenges people face, we see revelations. We see revelations of various kinds where people will be compelled to do their part. I think, lockdown certainly has, I think I can conclusively say, increased faith. just brought people together, brought people into this sort of the same belief sort of system.
Definitely.
And technology has definitely been one of the assistants, something that's catalyzed this whole sort of that's all it is.
Yeah, no, I think we get what you're trying to say. Yeah. Phoebe, do you want to go next, maybe? Yeah,
sure. So hi everyone, my name is Phoebe, and I am here talking from the Christian perspective. So when I was thinking about the challenges that children and young people are facing during this pandemic, I was finding it really hard to narrow it down. I don't think there is anybody who hasn't been impacted by COVID-19. However, both within and outside the church, we know that there are injustices that have been highlighted and exacerbated by the lockdown. Within the Methodist Church, we are blessed to have a diverse family, but the pandemic has also shone a light on the inequalities for the BAME community, those with mental health conditions, and those living in poverty, amongst other issues. But what has acutely affected young people in this pandemic? A key issue has been education. I completed my A-levels this summer and saw firsthand the knock-on effects of the poor handling of exam results had on my friends. Furthermore, the statistics showed that the algorithms disproportionately favoured students who attended private institutions, whilst many students from state schools had their grades lowered. What is even more challenging is that students who are already from disadvantaged backgrounds are now even further behind their peers. For me and many others, the lack of physical gathering has really impacted my sense of fellowship at church. In a time where teenage mental health is particularly under strain, not having the physical support of my youth group or my minister or my church family has been really challenging. It is worth noting that according to research, children from low-income families are 4 times more likely to experience mental health problems than children from higher income families. So, as a church where we may be able to reach some children and young people, it's extremely difficult to reach some of the most vulnerable members of our church. Talking about how do I keep faith, in the Bible, James 2:17 reads, "Faith without action is dead." And one of the key things that has nurtured my faith through the pandemic is seeing how the church has managed to so quickly respond to the new way of living. It's been a stark reminder to many that the church is the people and not the building. But what can we learn from this pandemic? What we can and must learn from the pandemic is how, as people of faith, we must continue and grow to be more active in restoring justice in this world. Jesus calls me as a Christian to feed the hungry, stand up for the oppressed, and reach out to the marginalized. Whilst I've still got a lot to learn, my faith in God gives me hope that there will be a world where we are all equal.
very nice. Callum, do you want to go and talk about keeping faith or whatever in the pandemic?
Yeah, so for me, I don't believe in a religion or anything like that. For me, the pandemic at the start, the first lockdown, I suffered with really, really bad anxiety. So I was quite anxious about the first lockdown. However, as someone who likes to go out quite a bit and socialize, the pandemic for me, the first time I was actually really good because I learned a lot of self-discipline. Like I was turning up, my work was a lot better. I was performing better in work, etc. I was saving money, and I thought that helped me a lot to learn that I can have that self-discipline that I didn't think I was able to demonstrate before the lockdown. With education, obviously, I quit my job to go, and I took out quite a big loan to go to do a course this in September, and that's now been cancelled because of COVID. So I've now got no job and no social aspects of my life. They're all gone. And I've also got nothing to really do. And I'm finding this pandemic, to be fair, this lockdown, a lot more difficult than the first one because obviously I've got no structure to my life at the moment. I think like today was the earliest I've woken up in about 2 weeks. I think I woke up at 3 PM. So like for me, it's not, I can feel it already having slight effects on my anxiety and stuff like that where I've got no structure. But yeah, and the reasons I don't believe in any religion is mainly because I don't actually know why nothing really relates to how I feel about life in general, to be honest. Like I wouldn't say I'm an atheist because I do believe there must be some form of spirit or God, whatever you might call it. But I wouldn't say my beliefs conform with or relate to that of a specific belief. That's basically why I don't believe in God. Not that I don't believe in God, but I don't follow a specific religion as such.
Fair enough. Radisa, do you want to go now? You can mute yourself again if you want, Callum.
No, it's okay. I think I agree with a lot of things Callum was saying, actually. The idea of there being a God, like, I think the idea that something is overlooking all of us gives us a sense of hope. So that's one thing. And second, the idea that also the pandemic has taken away any sort of structure in our lives is mental, because I don't think right now, currently, because I'm an A-level student, I'm a uni student and I study maths, but I haven't moved out to uni because of COVID. So any sort of social aspect in my life has been completely stripped away. So I don't have that meeting new people whatsoever. I don't even going out with friends and everything's online, everything's FaceTime. And I quit a job, which I actually really enjoyed, because I was scared of getting COVID. And one of the scariest things for me about COVID was not even me getting it, it was about giving it to my parents, because I think they're not high risk, but to some extent they're high risk. So it's, and I was working at a restaurant, so if I was to catch something off someone else and give it to my parents and something were to happen to them, I wouldn't be able to deal with that. So I had to quit that. I didn't see a lot of friends at all, and the idea of coming back to normal, I think someone called it was like, it was on Twitter, it was this thing where it's like, even when we come out of this pandemic, we're going to have like PTSD of corona, where being in like a large group, you're just going to feel icky. The idea of having faith is everything has to come back to normal. I feel like just like every good thing comes to an end, every bad thing must also come to an end. And if you look at it from a government point of view, the government can't just let this go on. If you think about it, they are talking about vaccines. So I don't know if you guys heard about that, but they are talking about vaccines. So that's some sort of hope, I guess, you can have. But also, they have to fix it. Like, it's one of those things, we can't go on like this forever. Even if it is, we will get through this. Okay, thank you.
Lovely motivational speech. Okay, that was lovely. I think now we're just going to sum this conversation up, and we're going to hear from Elizabeth. If you'd like to go ahead, just close out today's conversation.
Hi, I'm the chair of Islington Faith Forum. I feel really, really encouraged by this conversation. So thank you very much for all your contributions, and I hope to see you again maybe next time. Thank you.